Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
When I just came home from work, my babies was stuck in the stove dead, and I just came home from work. My cousin was babysitting my kids and left my kids dead in my house. Ain't no telling how long they've been in this house.
It was around 11:30 p.m. on Friday, October 13th, 2017, a date already steeped in superstition, when a frantic 911 call came through from 24-year-old Lamora Williams, a young mother from Atlanta. Her voice was shaking, breathless, on the edge of hysteria. What she told the dispatcher was almost beyond belief. She had just discovered the bodies of her two youngest children. They weren't in their beds. They weren't anywhere a child should be. They were inside her kitchen oven. Lamora had been raising 4 children on her own, barely scraping by. Life was a constant struggle between odd jobs, childcare, and keeping a roof over their heads. That Friday, according to her account, she had asked her cousin to watch over her 3 youngest boys while she went to work. She needed just 12 hours of help. But when she arrived home that night, something felt wrong immediately. The front door to her apartment was slightly open, rocking back and forth as if someone had left in a hurry. Inside, her oldest son, just 6 years old, was crying alone in the living room. The lights were dim. The air was thick and heavy, tainted with a strange, sickening smell, like burned meat, but sharper, more unnatural. Lamora moved quickly toward the kitchen, fearing something had caught fire. The smell grew stronger with every step, and then she opened the stove. What she saw would forever scar her life. The lifeless bodies of her 1-year-old and 2-year-old sons placed inside the oven, burned, silent, gone.
Atlanta 911, operator 7054. What's the address of your
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question, and this is a serious matter. I just left my cousin in the house with my kids. She just left my kids in the house when I came back from work, and my kids, 2 of my kids are dead. What do I gotta do? They dead. She left them dead in the house by themselves.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Where are you now?
I'm in my house. She left my door open. My baby boy, my oldest baby boy, is the only one that's here, only one that's alive. She left them in the house by themselves. She left them in here, and they knocked the stove on. Can you listen? When I came in, the stove was laying on my youngest son's head, and my other son was laid out on the floor with his brains laid out on the floor. I don't know what to do. I just came home to work from this. And she just left my baby dead.
Okay, ma'am, I'm gonna get EMS and I'm gonna get police and fire at the location. Can you tell me where you're located?
The dispatcher wasted no time. Police, fire, and emergency crews were sent racing to the scene. Meanwhile, Lamora was paralyzed by fear, her thoughts spinning out of control.
Okay, hold on one moment, because I'm gonna also get EMS on the line as well. Okay.
Yes,
Hold
please.
on one moment. Yes, ma'am. Stay on the line with me, though. Hold on one moment for me.
Okay.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
When I just came home from work, my babies was stuck in the stove dead, and I just came home from work. My cousin was babysitting my kids and left my kids dead in my house. Ain't no telling how long they've been in this house.
All right, wait. So is your son, is he obviously dead? Is he breathing at all? Can you tell me
he's dead. He's burnt. Both of my children are dead. Their head is burnt. Their skull is laying on this floor. The stove is, one of my babies is stuck. The stove is pulled over and everything.
All right, Elena, can we get PD started to this location? I'm operator 839.
Yes, we have PD and fire already en route to that location.
All right, thank you so much.
Please hurry up, please.
All right, ma'am. I'm en route, okay? We're en route.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Just minutes later, another frantic 911 call came in, but this time it wasn't Lamora on the line. The call was short, but what it revealed shook the investigation to its core. Who was this mysterious voice? And where was Lamora's cousin, the one who was supposed to be watching the kids? Stick with us as we peel back the layers of this chilling case. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss a single twist. Now let's dive deeper into the story. When police and emergency responders arrived at Lamora Williams' apartment, they found her standing in the doorway, visibly shaken, eyes wide with panic. But before anyone said a word, the smell hit them, thick, nauseating, the unmistakable stench of something burnt. Then came the horror. Inside the kitchen on the cold tile floor lay the lifeless bodies of two toddlers, 2-year-old Lamora Williams and 1-year-old KEYE Penn. It wasn't just death that met the first responders. It was suffering, long, agonizing suffering. Both boys had severe head injuries. Questions swirled immediately. Was this a terrible accident or something far more sinister? Detectives began canvassing the area, interviewing neighbors and Lamora's family, searching for answers to a scene no one could ever unsee. The children's bodies were transported to the coroner's office. But the autopsy report brought even more chilling revelations. Both Lamora and KEYE had spent a prolonged amount of time inside an oven. The coroner's findings were cold and clinical, but haunting. These thermal changes appear to be entirely from dry heat and prolonged exposure. It would require ample time to reach this degree. There were no fractures, no broken bones. Blunt force trauma was ruled out, but the mystery and the horror deepened. Lamora, seemingly desperate, begged the police to find her cousin, the one she claimed had been watching the children. But before officers could even start the search, the boy's father, Jamil Penn Sr., appeared on the scene. To everyone's shock, Jamil already knew what he was walking into, because just minutes earlier, after receiving a video call from Lamora, he had placed his own call to 911.
At approximately 11:40 p.m. on Friday, October 13, 2017, Jamil Penn Sr. dialed 911 in a panic. He told the dispatcher he was the father of the two boys found dead inside his ex-partner's home.
I just received a call from my child's mother that two of my youngest two dead babies, my sons, are dead in an apartment.
Okay, there's a lot of background noise. There what in an apartment, sir?
I just received a call that two of my kids are dead inside of an apartment.
Jamil was shaken to his core when he received a chilling video call from Lamora. Without a word, she slowly turned the camera, revealing the motionless bodies of their children. Overcome with shock and grief, Jamil's voice trembled as he struggled to deliver the devastating news.
Apartment.
Okay, did she call 911? What's the address?
No, she didn't call 911. She called me and she video called me and showed me this, and I seen it.
What's the address?
And I really think they are really dead.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Jamil Penn.
Okay.
Jamil prayed God this was a prank.
I want to know if they actually dead. Please give me a call. Please give me a call back as soon as possible.
Okay, we'll get a unit out there to check it out, okay?
I'm sorry?
We'll get an officer out there to check it out, okay?
All right.
All right.
Police were aware of the 911 calls made by both Lamora and Jamil Penn Sr., but nothing could fully explain the tragic scene they had walked into. Outside the apartment, a crowd of neighbors began to gather, whispering among themselves. Many claimed Lamora often left the kids home alone while she went to work. There hadn't been a babysitter around in weeks. As more details came to light, suspicion slowly turned toward Lamora. Shockingly, her own 911 call wasn't just to report what had happened. It was to ask if she'd be held accountable for the deaths of her children.
I can't even talk. This is so serious. I'm so scared. I don't want to get locked up because I was at work.
Okay, ma'am.
I
understand that you're scared. I completely understand, but I need to get some help out there to you now. Can you tell me where you're located?
I understand that, but can you please help me? Like, can you please tell me, like, I don't want to get locked up because this is not my fault. I had just came home from work. I just came home from work.
Yes, ma'am.
I just came home from work.
Okay. Ma'am, the first thing that I need to do is get some help out there to you. I understand that you're upset and you're scared.
They've been here dead. Like, it's no way in the fuck. She left my baby dead.
Okay.
And I don't have no way to reach her.
If you're not sure, if you were at work, ma'am, listen to me. If you were at work while this happened, then the responsibility is going to fall on your sister if that's who you left them with. Okay?
Throughout the 911 call, Lamora seemed less concerned with saving her children and more worried about one chilling question. Will I be charged with murder? She never provided her name, her kids' names, or even her address, wasting precious time when every second counted. Then came a disturbing revelation from neighbors. Days before the call, they noticed a foul, rotting smell coming from Lamora's apartment. The implication was horrifying. The children may have been dead for days, directly contradicting Lamora's claim that she had just come home to find them lifeless. As if things couldn't get more disturbing, police confirmed that the couple's surviving 3-year-old son, Jamil Penn Jr., may have witnessed it all. The toddler kept repeating a chilling phrase, "Mommy hurt my brothers." His father, Jamil Sr., later confirmed the heartbreaking statement.
You know, like I said, he knows what happened. He was there. You know what I'm saying? And I try to get it far off his mind as possible because he talks about it, if not every day, every hour on the hour about his brother.
In the early hours of Saturday, October 14th, 2017, investigators arrested Lamora Williams on suspicion of murdering her 2 youngest sons.
It alleges 24-year-old Lamora Williams knowingly put her 2 boys inside of the oven at her apartment and then turned it on sometime between 12 a.m. this past Thursday and 11 p.m. this past Friday, nearly a 48-hour window. Somewhere in there, investigators believe she carried out that act of putting her boys inside of the oven. And a glimpse into her apartment where police spent several hours investigating, and neighbors told us they witnessed officers remove an oven from.
Investigators even went so far as to remove the stove from Lamora Williams's apartment, searching for vital clues that might finally reveal how her children really died. The coroner's report offered no clear answers, only more questions. And one chilling question echoed louder than the rest. What could possibly push a mother to commit such an unthinkable act? Very little is truly known about Lamora Williams before her name made headlines. Born in 1983 and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, she grew up with her parents and older sister. To those closest to her, she was simply Red. But behind the nickname and family photos was a long, silent battle. According to her mother, her sister, and even her former partner, Jamil Penn Sr., Lamora had struggled with mental health issues from a very young age, possibly from the moment she was born.
Now, you know, I know her mother and her father very well, so, you know, they always told me that she had, you know, mental illness, you know, when she was younger since birth.
Lamora's mother, Brenda, vividly remembered the chilling signs that something wasn't right early on. From a young age, Lamora had displayed deeply disturbing behavior, enough to make Brenda pull her out of school and homeschool her out of fear for others' safety. She was a slow learner, Brenda shared. But it was more than that. She'd do things like cut my other daughter with a knife or tear the heads off her dolls, stuff you only see in horror movies. I was terrified. Lamora's sister Tabitha backed up their mother's account. Despite Brenda's repeated attempts to get help, the system turned a blind eye. Teachers noticed something was off, Tabitha said, but the state kept saying nothing was wrong. They failed us. The whole system did. At just 18, Lamora became a mother to a baby girl named London Williams. Her relationship with London's father didn't last, and she eventually moved back in with her parents. Still, she and her ex worked together to raise their daughter, with his family stepping up to provide support, both emotionally and financially. Not long after, Lamora met Jamil Penn Sr., and the chemistry between them was instant. They bonded over their love for adventure, and to everyone around them, Lamora seemed full of light and laughter. The signs of depression weren't obvious. I was the hothead, Jamil admitted. She was always the calm one. Within a few years, they welcomed a son, Jamil Penn Jr., and moved in with Lamora's parents while they saved for a home of their own. On the outside, they looked like a young family just trying to build a life together. But behind the scenes, a storm had already begun to brew.
She's really mentally ill until the death of her father in 2014. 2014, I found.
On April 20th, 2014, Jamil walked into a devastating scene. Lamora's father lay unresponsive in bed. He had suffered a fatal heart attack during the night. The loss shattered Lamora. Her father had been her rock, her emotional anchor, and without him, she began slipping deeper into a dark place. Rather than encouraging her to seek help, Jamil believed that more children might heal her heart. In the 2 years that followed, Lamora gave birth to Jakarta Williams and KEYE Penn, but instead of pulling her out of the darkness, motherhood only intensified her struggle. 3 young children and mounting pressure led to a severe case of postpartum depression. Despite clear warning signs, Jamil made another critical mistake, convincing Lamora to move out of her mother's house and into an apartment in Oakland City, Atlanta. Isolated and overwhelmed, Lamora's mental health continued to spiral. Jamil, unable to handle the stress, eventually walked away, ending their relationship and leaving her to manage on her own. Even after the breakup, Jamil stayed involved in his sons' lives, visiting regularly and offering financial support. But back at home, Brenda, Lamora's mother, saw the red flags. Growing increasingly worried, she repeatedly contacted Child Protective Services, warning them that Lamora was slipping and the children were at risk. I reported her to the district, Brenda later said. I begged them, either give me the kids or take them away from her. At one point, she wasn't even feeding them. Her fears weren't just intuition. She called Jamil, convinced Lamora was on the edge of harming herself, or worse, the kids. Brenda even reached out to the Division of Family and Children Services, DFCS, accusing Lamora of neglect and pleading for custody. But her cries for help were met with silence. DFCS would later deny ever being contacted about Lamora's mental state or the children's safety. In a 73-page report following the tragedy, DFCS only noted inadequate supervision in the deaths of Jakarta and KEYE. Lamora's sister Tabitha admitted she feared Lamora might hurt herself, but never the children. "We offered help," she said, "but she wouldn't let us in, wouldn't answer the phone, wouldn't open the door." Lamora's closest friend revealed that by September 2017 she had quit her job, crushed by the weight of motherhood and life's mounting stress. "She told me she couldn't take it anymore," the friend said. 1 month later, the unthinkable happened. On Saturday, October 21st, 2017, just a week after the boys' bodies were discovered, they were laid to rest at Southview Cemetery, one of Atlanta's oldest and most historic black cemeteries. The funeral, held at West Hunter Street Baptist Church, drew a heartbroken community. Among the mourners was a great-nephew of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who delivered a powerful eulogy. The boys' small caskets were adorned with photos and images of their favorite superheroes. As Jamil Sr. clutched his surviving child, white horses carried the caskets away in a quiet, solemn procession. As Jamil Sr. mourned the unimaginable loss of his 2 sons, their mother, Lamora Williams, sat behind bars in Fulton County Jail, awaiting her court hearing without bail. Desperate for answers, Jamil reached out to her by phone, but what he got in return was chilling. "She showed no remorse," he later said, visibly shaken. "It was like she felt nothing. That's what broke me." Investigators, armed with autopsy results and accounts from neighbors and family, began to piece together the grim puzzle. While the precise cause of death remained inconclusive, medical examiners discovered disturbing burn marks on the boys' small bodies, evidence that the stove had been used as a weapon. But the most significant injuries were blunt force trauma to their heads, suggesting a brutal and deliberate act of violence. Detectives believe that Lamora's mental health had spiraled in the aftermath of her breakup with Jamil. Already battling childhood trauma and postpartum depression, she became increasingly isolated and overwhelmed. Her frustration, fueled by loneliness, stress, and a sense of helplessness, appeared to fester into something far darker. According to witnesses, she often left the children alone for hours, unfed and unattended. The tipping point came in September 2017 when Lamora quit her job to stay home full-time. What was meant to be a step toward stability instead marked her breaking point. With her independence slipping away and the pressures of single motherhood mounting, Lamora began to unravel. Investigators believe that sometime between noon on October 12th and the evening of October 13th, 2017, she snapped, striking the boys in the head and killing them. In a harrowing attempt to cover up the crime, Lamora reportedly used the oven to destroy evidence. Before calling 911, she phoned her best friend, Nisa Smith, and hinted at suicide. As Nisa pressed for answers, Lamora admitted the unthinkable. The boys were dead. Nisa begged her to call the police, but instead Lamora reached out to Jamil. That Friday night, Jamil received a call he'll never forget. "They're dead!" Lamora screamed. In disbelief, he asked, "Who's dead?" What came next would haunt him forever. She switched to video chat and turned the phone toward the floor. "I saw my sons, just lying there," Jamil said through tears. "One was by the stove, the other near his brother. Neither of them moved." When Lamora finally called 911, she attempted to stage the scene, portraying herself as a mother who had just walked into a nightmare. She even blamed an unnamed cousin for watching the kids, a claim police quickly debunked. Sergeant John Chafee of the Atlanta Police Department stated, "We followed up on every lead. There was no cousin, no babysitter. It became clear she was hiding the truth. In later interviews, Lamora shifted blame again, this time onto her own sister. But investigators saw through the lies. They argued that if Lamora had truly returned home to find her children dead, her instinct would have been to save them, not to build a cover story. Instead, she took time to create a narrative before reaching out for help. Prosecutors believed her actions were calculated and deliberate. Now it was up to a grand jury to decide her fate. On February 2, 2018, the case took a grim turn when a grand jury handed down a formal indictment against Lamora Williams. The charges were extensive and chilling: murder, aggravated assault, making false statements, concealing a death, and cruelty to children. That last charge was especially haunting, as investigators revealed that Lamora's 3-year-old son had been inside the apartment while his 2 brothers were being killed. Meanwhile, Lamora's mother, Brenda Williams, tried to visit her daughter in jail but was turned away. Terrified for Lamora's mental health, Brenda pleaded with authorities to place her under constant watch. She feared that, left alone, Lamora might try to take her own life.
I just came from the jailhouse to let them know to put her on suicide watch because she's going to kill.
Despite years of silence, the Lamora Williams case continues to stir speculation and sorrow. For a long time, updates were scarce. Rumors swirled that Lamora had been declared mentally unfit for trial and quietly moved to a psychiatric facility. The case remained unresolved, leaving the public questioning: will Lamora Williams ever face justice? On May 30, 2018, Lamora appeared in court for a status hearing ahead of a trial scheduled for January 2019. The judge upheld the charges against her. She pleaded not guilty and was returned to jail under strict surveillance. Then nothing. For years, the case went cold. No public records, no court appearances. Her name disappeared from Georgia's inmate databases, and even the Georgia Bureau of Criminal Investigation held no trace. Everything was sealed, confidential, and cloaked in mystery. Whispers grew louder that psychological evaluations during her incarceration may have led to a finding of incompetency, prompting her transfer to a mental health facility for treatment. But then, on June 2, 2023, Lamora surfaced again. She was present during a plea hearing at Fulton County Superior Court. Though she did not stand before the judge, a future trial date was set. The details, however, were not released to the public. The emotional toll on her family has been immense. Her sister Tabitha recalled Lamora's mugshot. "It was like a demonic spirit took over her," she said. "That didn't even look like Lamora. She looked possessed. She looked evil." Their mother, Brenda, grieved deeply. Though heartbroken, she admitted she wasn't entirely surprised. The signs, she said, had been there for years. She now seeks therapy to help heal from the trauma. For Jamil, the father of the children, healing has come through faith and therapy for both himself and their surviving son, young Jamil Jr. "I pray every day," Jamil shared. "I'm just grateful Kayante and Ja Carter don't have to suffer anymore. I know they're in a better place." Local funeral director Willie Watkins was so moved by the tragedy that he donated burial plots for the boys at Southview Cemetery and helped arrange a heartfelt funeral. He spoke gently to Jamil Jr., telling him that his brothers were in heaven now, watching over him. But Jamil Jr. remains haunted. He often speaks about what he witnessed that night, his tiny voice echoing trauma far too great for a child his age. "They go on the stove themselves," he told his father. I saw Jakarta sleep on the stove. Are Keyante and Jakarta going to come back after they've been dead?
Daddy, we going back to mama house? I said, we ain't going back to mama house. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no more going back to mama house. You stay with me now.
Jamil Sr. will never forget that horrific night. The image of his two sons, lifeless on the kitchen floor, replays every time he closes his eyes. But instead of letting this unimaginable loss break him, he's turned his pain into purpose. I lost my boys to violence. But if sharing my story can stop even one child from being hurt, then their memory lives on through hope. The tragic case of Lamora Williams sheds light on the devastating intersections of mental health struggles, unresolved family trauma, and a system that too often fails those crying out for help. Could this have been prevented with early intervention or stronger support services? Who should be held accountable when warning signs are ignored and cries for help are dismissed? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Is there a case you want us to cover next? Drop it below. And if this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps us keep these important conversations going. Until next time, stay safe and look out for one another.